Learn to Fly, arguably the most well-known launcher game, and is very polished for something made casually in the mid-2000s, originally intended to be a 5-game series before ending at the 3rd. The games rapidly evolve between entries. The first one is working with some basic gliding physics. You become a jet in 2 and a spaceship in 3. There's a consistent expansion of items and mechanics, and it keeps its casual and silly tone throughout its life. The launcher genre died with Flash, but Learn to Fly could easily argue that it's the best of its kind. The first of the genre, I think, was Party Racer, but Learn to Fly was the series that solidified the genre's boundaries. The slow and steady progression, the laid-back tone, how achievements are directly integrated into gameplay. Learn to Fly 1 sets the foundation. Have you ever launched yourself off of a swing? So imagine you're doing it instead on increasingly bigger slides. That's basically it. The gameplay loop is simple. You're gliding. Going up loses you speed but gains you height. Leaning downwards gains you speed, but the run is over if you touch the water. Balance these two and see how far you can go. Larger slides are unlocked after certain distance, time, height, and speed goals are achieved. Once our penguin reaches a certain distance on the largest slide, the game ends with them slamming into an ice wall. Along the way, the penguin buys rockets and gliders and basically becomes a living flesh missile. The first game only has 3 tiers, but each new glider gives you a newer and sleeker looking UI to work with, which is a nice touch. The progression system tied to these games is like 60% of what makes them fun. This applies to the entire genre. Being relatively early, Learn to Fly 1 has a simple system. 3 stages of glider, 3 stages of booster, upgrades to ramp height and length plus acceleration, and upgrades to fuel capacity once you unlock a booster. It's very much linear. The game is built for you to beat it before you max out all the boxes. It's over in like 20 minutes. Still fun for what it is, but it's very much in the category of short lunch break game. A good chunk of people likely only played its way more popular sequel that heavily expanded on all mechanics and qualifies as a full-fledged game in its own right. Learn to Fly 2. The series actually has a somewhat consistent storyline, which just boils down to flightless bird infighting. Penguins and dodos apparently have constant beef. Learn to Fly 2 starts with them in the hospital ego-searching themselves and getting rage-baited again. In the alternate ending, we learn that the guy trolling the penguin has been a dodo bird the entire time. This gets occasionally referenced in the 2 games made after this. Anyway, a bunch of mechanics have been made more complicated. There's now like triple the amount of ways you can progress. You still upgrade slide height, length, and fuel capacity, but acceleration has been moved over to all the extra equipment types. Alongside glider and booster, you have a body and sled. Sleds will power your initial launch, and body determines how hard you hit structures. The goal this time around is to destroy 5 ice things. A snowman, a snow pile, a rocky hill, an iceberg, and the wall of ice that our penguin slammed into 2 minutes ago. You have build paths now. Each equipment category has variety and different subtypes. You can have toggled boosters, one-shot boosters, or 4-shot boosters. Toggled is click and hold to spend fuel, and letting go to stop. One-shot boosters cannot be turned off until they run out of fuel. 4-shot is like that but split into 4 stages. Your body can be made of a stronger material, or you can strap a bomb to its head and give it a burst of power. Sleds can be a simple increase in stats, or they can be manually activated for more power. You can have a standard glider, or you can go for the far inferior balloon/helicopter options. There are objectively better items within each subtype, but no subtype is objectively better than any other, well, ignoring the Omega items anyway. That's just half of it. The secret shop is the other half. Bonus points are given whenever you finish a game mode or get certain achievements. You can buy the option to replay cutscenes or unlock more soundtracks, but the main thing is the upgrades to stats you wouldn't think you had access to. Increase your earnings, decrease gravity, decrease weight, decrease high-speed drag, and increase the speed threshold in which high-speed drag even comes into effect, all of which will persist if you start a new game. This is long-term progression, folks. This all adds such a silly and casual tone to the game. Like, come on, it's a backstreet dealer penguin. If you fly straight down with a high enough speed and a hard enough body, you shatter the earth. You unlock an alternative ending by reaching the ice wall while maintaining very high altitudes. Here, instead of destroying the wall, the body flies over it, and it'll eventually get to a random dodo hut and destroy the internet troll. The achievement pops in the top right corner, and your penguin looks at it in confusion. That's cute. The game doesn't take itself seriously, and I mean, why would it? The premise is that a penguin creates advanced rocketry to prove a point to one guy. Like, our penguin didn't even reply to the comment. He saw the comment and went into action immediately. No essay, no snark, no back and forth. They just physically did the thing to prove the other guy wrong. I mean, like many things online, the dodo was never in good faith in the first place, so it didn't really matter until the missile hit, but I do think this is a better response than what you usually see. Anyway, gameplay is pretty much the same as Learn to Fly 1, but the equipment is stronger, so we have much greater control over our flight. Like, we can go backwards now, and some achievements are tied to that. At some point, we can get Omega items from the secret shop if we stock up on enough BP, and these things are made to be the apex of their category. They cost so much money, you likely already completed the game by the time you get them, but they're great as neat little extras entirely made just to make you feel overpowered. There's a great amount of polish to this game. The art style is consistent and the music is dynamic and based on how fast you're going. It's very well made, like you expect a bit of jank with any old Flash game, but that seems to have been mostly ironed out. That polish was continued into the final game of the series, Learn to Fly 3. Actually, let's go on a brief detour first. Learn to Fly Idle. Idle games were something that came into prominence near the end of Flash. I mostly remembered Adventure Capitalist, but a bunch of running Flash series gave the genre a shot. Learn to Fly was one of them. The goal of the game is to destroy ice-themed things with increasingly stronger projectiles. Early on, you actually have to click, but like many Idle games, after like 20 minutes, the game kinda just plays itself. You're just buying the upgrades. I spent most of my time getting and eating a snack. Half the upgrades are exponential in nature, and the enemy structure will have exponentially expanding health pools to counter. We have two systems of progress, some simple stat increases and research points, which can only be gotten by waiting, so getting a snack is a meta strat, which is just how the default Idle game works. The main way to stick out in this genre is to either have a unique art style / premise or have the numbers / progression systems interact in interesting ways. Learn to Fly Idle doesn't really have either. It's a simple and cozy art style but nothing to stand out, and only having two systems of numbers that aren't that interesting or interact that much isn't doing anything for my spreadsheet brain. This here is honestly just a cute side game. The inherent silliness of the series is the thing that makes the game. Anyway, Learn to Fly 3. The Penguin managed to impress enough of his kin in 2 to start up Penguin NASA, and they are now aiming for space travel. Alright, so where do I start? Speaking of multiple progression systems that interact with each other, achievements, sardine shops, card packs, bonus point shops, and standard game progression. Achievements have always been crucial to the launcher genre. Here, getting an achievement will directly give you some kind of stat bonus or more starting cash. Starting cash is important now because there are several achievements that require you to speedrun story mode. Particularly hard achievements tend to give a large burst of bonus points. The BP shop this time around is no longer a backstreet dealer penguin, it's now a very sleek looking lab space. There's a lot of stats you can directly affect, including the coveted increase level cap. You can increase literally everything's level cap, including the stuff in the bonus shop. The only thing unaffected by the limit break is the level cap increaser themselves, unless you buy the limit breaker from the sardine shop. This would cost a lot of BP, but later on, they start being handed to you basically for free, especially when you start farming card packs. Card packs are given whenever you reach the end of a game mode. They give 5 to 10 cards depending on the difficulty of the completed mode. Thing is, BP is actually filler and the least desirable by far. You can get new items here, all of which are at least different from the base item set. A good chunk of them are insanely strong, and you can only get the Omega set through card packs. Sardines can either be obtained through real money purchase or these card packs. This game is on Steam and completely free, by the way. I guess sardines are the way the game makes money, but once you reach endgame, card packs can be farmed. You don't need to buy anything. The sardine shop is where the stupidly strong stuff is. When you first boot up the game, it looked like this stuff was behind a paywall, but once you get to the speedrunner phase, this shop will basically just be given to you. Also, look up some codes. Anyway, on to the actual game. We're going up. The airspace is absolutely cluttered. The objects get larger and more common the higher up you go. They aren't a threat in the early game, but later on, they will murder you with a smile. Your equipment is split into 4 categories: body, launcher, stage, and booster. There's a lot of stats to keep track of. Body mostly determines your max speed and is usually a huge chunk of your weight. If you're going faster than max speed, air resistance will massively slow you down until you are at that max speed. The benefit of having high weight is that obstacles won't affect you as much. The downside of being heavy is everything else. The launcher is the thing that sends you upwards. Most of them have some sort of minigame attached. Do well on the minigame and they'll be a bit stronger. My personal favorite is the roulette launcher. The main stat of launchers are power and max lift ratio. The more expensive stuff usually have more power to them, but sometimes the minigame can throw the scaling off. Boosters, you can have up to 4. The amount of boosters you can have is dependent on what body you have equipped. Boosters can add extra raw power to your penguin, but a chunk of the best boosters are passive abilities. Stages are like stages of a rocket. Like boosters, how many you can have depends on your current body. No passives here, everything's automatic. The types of stages you usually see are combos of fuel amount, weight, and power. Long haul type stages have lots of fuel but weighs a ton with moderate power. Burst type stages have a low amount of fuel but a good amount of power and moderate weight. My favorite stage is the dubstep engine. Instead of power, its strength is measured in wubs and dubs. It replaces the game's music with dubstep. I love this thing. As implied earlier, there's a lot of meta progression. Beating story mode the first time is just the beginning. When I got my first card pack, I realized, oh shit, there's still like 80% of the game left to play. You have harder versions of story mode, a lot of which is going to require some over leveling. Payload mode, which adds a ball and chain to the penguin. The physics of the chained weight alongside certain boosters can get rather wonky. Oh god, make it stop. Classic mode makes us go horizontal again. The controls here aren't built for going horizontal, the angles are kind of awkward. Lastly, there's sandbox mode. You can adjust all the numbers in this game and it is so easy to break everything here. So that's about it. The Learn to Fly series is quintessentially a Flash game. Like, it's a perfect definition of it. Very casual in tone and theming, never takes itself too seriously. It's in a weird genre that's not seen much outside of the engine, and of course, it's an entertaining game that can withstand the test of time better than you would expect. Lightbringer Games seems to have largely stopped with game development. They had many smaller projects, but Learn to Fly was their biggest series by far. If I remember correctly, 2 more games were planned but never came to be. I don't think they fully quit, so who knows, maybe sometime in the future. But the chances of that happening are slim to none. A fan game carrying on the legacy is much more likely. Hey, it's been a little while. I'm still going to talk about launcher games for a bit, this time with some party humor.